Well, hey, everybody, welcome to this week's episode of Conversations. This week, we're going to talk about how to recruit leaders in the church. Nobody wants to work at a church. And in 2025, most people really don't want to work in church. They want to make a difference. They want to matter. They're chasing influence and impact, not org charts and name tags. The key is building them with vision, calling them to conviction, and showing them the real influence comes from serving. Because the reality is, you're not struggling to recruit leaders because your vision is weak. You're struggling because the model you're using doesn't speak to what today's leaders actually crave. You got to stop thinking about church like it's 2013. You got to stop thinking about church like it's 2019. In 2025, we need to recruit like builders, not babysitters. This concept of church staff really in itself, I think, is dying out. And we need to understand where the current context and climate is when it comes to people actually working and being a part of your church. But also the reality is most people, like I said, don't want to work in a church. According to Barna in 2024, it's an actual study. Only 33% of Gen Z and Millennials are interested in working in vocational ministry. Even amongst actual Christians in Bible college, there just seems to be only, again, 33% of people are interested in vocational ministry. And there's just some simple observations that in the midst of me being Gen Z and learning that post-COVID burnout, staff scandals, overprogramming have made church work feel more draining than fulfilling. You really think about those three buckets right there in the last 5 years will tell you why that turnover, staff turnover is up 34% from 2019. So in the midst of 6 years, we only have 33% of Gen Z millennials that are Christian that want to be a part of vocational ministry, but then actual turnover is up 34%. So it's the three buckets. It's post-COVID burnout, staff scandals, and overprogramming. Let's start from the last one, overprogramming. We're adding way too many things to our calendars, our church calendars, our event calendars that don't actually make a difference. It just makes us feel good. It makes us as the primary leaders feel like we're making a difference or that we're doing something. We're adding a service just to add a service. And that's burning people out. And yes, COVID burnout is a real thing. Going from 2019 to 2020 to 2021 to 2022, those 4 years, a lot happened in church. And a lot of scandals happened. And a lot of things got exposed. And a lot of methods and systems that we thought were absolute truth are no longer absolute truth. That we're committed to the message of Jesus, but we're not committed to the methods of man. And again, this is just facts. And I understand that you might have a different idea, but the problem isn't passion. The problem is perception. People love the mission. Gen Z and millennials love the mission, but they hate the machinery. They don't like the machinery of a job. Think about in any context outside of church. The concept of money, the concept of our economy, the concept of working just a basic in-the-office job isn't even a concept to a majority of Gen Z and millennials because there's so many other avenues to make money that they actually want money to work for them. They don't want to work for money. So when you think about just the basic job description of somebody who would apply to work at your church, that you're going to pay them $75,000 a year. You're giving them benefits. They work 40 hours a week in the office. They serve on Sundays or however you work it. And some reason that's not sticking because, again, we have 2014 methods in our staffing culture. We have 2013 methods on HR and giving them benefits and thinking about the value that they add to the organization. So just flatline observation is most people don't want to work in church. So what are we going to do with that 33% of the people who actually want to serve? And how do we actually produce in that 66%? What do we do for them to make them want to make a difference and serve and build? Because this is the two words that will actually solve the problem: influence and impact. People are not anti-church in 2025. They're just anti-bureaucracy. And they want to do what matters. They want to see lives changed, not forms filled. They want to influence the culture, not just manage classrooms. They want to feel like their yes actually moves something. That the man of God syndrome, or what I would like to call it, the honor culture that has been running rampant the last 50 to 75 years, where we're worshiping our boss, we're worshiping our pastor, that just doesn't translate anymore because we have clear indicators of whether you're being inauthentic or you're being genuine. We can smell it from a mile away. So why would I want to work for somebody that I've never met the real version of them? I've never met the actual human being of them. You can build them, and if you can show them how to walk in purpose and power, they will stay. But if you treat them like a task manager, they will leave. And if you have high turnover in your organization, it's not a them problem. It's a you problem. You always, as a leader, you always have to lead with a mirror. That everything you see in your team, everything you see in your marriage is a mirror. It's all a mirror. That's what leadership is. It's a mirror. The things that I see wrong in my organization is because I did not lead them well enough in that area. So the two things that Gen Z and Millennials want is they want influence and they want impact. They want to make a difference and they want to be influential. And I'm not saying those are right or wrong. I'm just saying that's what they want. So here's where most churches live, and this is the problem. This is what most churches get wrong in 2025 that drives high capacity 10 out of 10 leaders away. We could just do an episode on this point right here. If you want to lose the best leaders in your church, this is what you need to do. You need to recruit for roles, not vision. You need to offer titles instead of transformation. You need to use churchy language instead of human language. And you need to overload faithful people in underdeveloping them. So you need to consistently recruit for roles, not vision. What does that mean? You're just filling roles. You're filling seats, and you're looking at numbers more than names. Numbers mount. I believe we should count people because people count. Yes, but you need to recruit from vision, not for what they can do for your organization, what you can do for them. And not promising titles, not promising positions, but promising influence and impact. Offering titles instead of transformation. You can give anybody any title now. We have 500 creative directors in each organization. It's like, what does that even mean? Why are we giving away titles instead of transformation? And if you can help people grow and build their life and their character and influence their world, not to use them to influence your world, they'll stay. And using churchy language instead of human language. Stewardship of systems versus make people feel known. Overloading faithful people and underdeveloping them. We talked about it a couple weeks ago, but just dumping on people. You just dump tasks on them 2 weeks before an event or a service or last minute and reactive nature of announcements. You're going to consistently underdevelop them. And that's more important than overloading them or even loading them, is continuing to develop them. And this is the best way I can think of it when I think of cheap influence, because that's really what that is. You want them to be influential, but not more influential than you. And that's cheap influence. You can buy Instagram followers in 2025. Might look great, but until you realize none of them engage, none of them buy, and none of them care, it's fake influence. And recruiting warm bodies just to fill roles feels the same. Looks full, feels hollow, and it doesn't grow anything. You can buy it. You can buy followers. You cannot buy influence. You can acquire people in your church who will say yes to everything you do, but you don't have any influence because influence is not cheap. There's a cost to it, and it's not money, and it's not pay. It's impact and transformation. So let's jump into some solutions the 3 keys to recruiting the best, high capacity, high developing, 10 out of 10 pinnacle leaders. Call them up, not in. Stop asking, can you help us? Start saying, here's who you could become. On the other side of you saying yes to this, I see you becoming blank. Don't use titles, use character. We don't need your hands. We want your heart and your gift to move people. We don't need you to just come help. We want the thing inside of you that God called you to do. We want that to continue to grow and to fester, and we know the amount of people that will impact. So call them up, not in. We don't want them to just be in the room, be in the staff, be on the team. We want them to be called up. We want to be elevators of people. Number 2, define leadership as impact, not hierarchy. Make leadership about changing lives, not about being in charge. And that's an old way of thinking, right? Maybe somebody is a youth pastor in a different city and you want them to be a part of the thing you're building. So you give them things that don't actually translate to impact. What you're going to have is you're going to have them for 6 months. And we have friends all over the world who have continually went to church hop to church hop to church hop because they never found a place that loved them for them. They just loved the thing in them, and they thought that they could use that as a vehicle to grow their organization. But that's just using people. And we don't want to use people. We want to use the church to build people. Help them see how leading one team, one room, or one person is influence. We say this every single Sunday in our church, in our leadership motto in our team rally. I am a leader. I am a person of influence. That's not the staff meeting. That is the meeting that has every single person who will serve on that Sunday. And what that does is and we mean it. I mean it. When I look at every single person in that room, I know they're a leader and they're a person of influence. That smile in the parking lot, that hug in kids ministry is actual influence that can't be found online. And ties Sunday tasks to eternal impact. You're not running slides. You're shaping what somebody hears from God. You're not pushing road cases. You and I are changing the world by serving people. Language matters so much, and that comes from actual conviction and authentic nature of you sitting with God and saying, God, what am I doing and how is it making an impact? And you being able to find quality language in that will build the best leaders. And number 3, build them like they're already hired. Don't wait to develop them once they're committed. Mentor them from day one and have hard conversations, give real feedback, and speak to their potential. This is a real story. One of the number one mentors in my life since I got saved got hired at a church that he was a part of for 10 years. He got hired and within 3 months got fired. And to me, when I look at that situation, I go, oh, they robbed him the journey of developing him before that. They went all that time of using his gift, and then they hired him, and they said, hey, this isn't working out. You're not doing what you're supposed to be doing. We got to let you go. Jesus didn't draft disciples like a job description. He said, follow me. Then he walked with them, challenged them, corrected them, loved them, and then released them. So there's your recipe. Walked with them, challenged them, corrected them, loved them, released them. And a lot of people who don't understand volunteer culture will go, well, I can't confront them because what if they leave? Yeah, what if? But what if you don't confront them? What if that actually translates to 50 people leaving, not one, because you weren't willing to have a hard conversation? And the best leaders, by the way, want to grow. More than what you could pay me, you giving me an opportunity for me to get better, that's way better than finances. So challenging, confronting, loving, speaking their potential. So this is just my wrap up. This is my closing challenge to you. Stop trying to recruit for convenience. Start building with conviction. The future church won't be led by people who want to work at the church. It'll be led by people who burn for change in their city and know they're called to lead wherever they're at. They don't want to work at your church. They want to matter. And if you can show them how serving the one leads to impact, you'll never run out of leaders again. Thank you for listening to this week's episode. We'll see you next week.